David Andrew Weeb, founder of Spark Infinity niche-based Facebook group. David, what is going on in Spark Infinity?
Spark Infinity has been growing pretty rapidly since January. We started with literally 4 or 5 members, now to well over 1,400 people, serving creatives and creators, poets, artists, visual artists, musicians, actors, actresses.
What should members of Spark Infinity be prepared for? What are the live shows about?
We like to interview people and get a sense of who they are, the kind of things they do, highlight them, and especially their amazingness, their personality, their superpowers, whatever makes them great. That's what we like to highlight in those conversations.
So how could members of Spark Infinity also benefit from Bump Global?
For one thing, there are so many amazing heart-centered founders of various niche-based Facebook groups that if you wanted to be interviewed, you could just put yourself in the middle of the storm and find all kinds of groups to be featured in and interviewed in all day long. And the other thing is, if they have the desire and the work ethic to build their own niche-based Facebook group and blow it up, that's another opportunity that's waiting for them. And I only see things growing from there.
Welcome to Spark Infinity Office Hours, where creative journeys unfold in real time. In these intimate sessions, our hosts open their creative playbooks to share fresh discoveries, current experiments, and hard-won insights from their personal artistic paths. Whether diving into recent breakthroughs or working through creative challenges, each office hours session offers a raw, unfiltered look at the creative process in action. Join us to explore the practical tools, mindset shifts, and unexpected realizations and revelations that shape our ongoing artistic evolution. The quote of the day goes something like this: content builds relationships. Relationships are built on trust. Trust drives revenue. Who said that? Andrew Davis. Today's date is October 23rd, 2025, and if you happen to be watching this on any other day, you are much better at time travel than I am, and I would love to learn your secrets. Today, we continue our conversation on multi-platform presence and growth. We hope you've been enjoying this series. We hope you've been enjoying this topic so far this month. I know I have, but we'd love to hear your thoughts and see what it is you got out of these. And if you haven't had a chance to watch all of them, look, we've got a YouTube channel where all this content lives. And if you'd like to find it, probably the easiest way is just to go to our website, sparkinfinity.live. That's sparkinfinity.live to check out more of the content. Now, let's get into today's conversation. Content creation and repurposing. This is a subject that we absolutely do need to cover, given that we've covered some of the results that Spark Infinity got using this approach of multi-platform presence and growth. And in the week following, we talked about tools and apps. So today, let's talk a little bit about content. Now, I hope, and I assume and presume to a certain extent, that with content, you're not starting from scratch. You didn't learn about content yesterday. I mean, I sure hope not anyway. Oops. I keep forgetting to go live to Facebook sometimes. So I'm going live now. Okay, good. I think it started at the beginning. Okay, we are live in Facebook as well, and it's going to take a little while to catch up over there. But that's okay. You know, this is how live streams go sometimes. Okay, so creating content and repurposing the content. I presume and assume that you have some experience with content. You have some awareness of live streams, of video, of podcasts, of blog posting, and their various permutations. I don't often talk about offline marketing, I guess, unless it's in the context of my books. However, that is also completely valid, and there is something I'm working on or have been working on lately that involves a little bit of offline work as well, but we can get into that. So you have an awareness of the different content types and where they can go. And obviously, if you're into graphic design, you can create graphics and share those as quote unquote content. If you're into photography, you can share your photos. I see lots of photographers. I know photographers. We have photographers in the group, and they like to share their photos. So we have different types of people creating different types of stuff. As an artist, you at least have some awareness. You already know some of the things that you create, you like to create, you like to share with people, more than likely because you get some kind of response, some kind of likes, comments, shares, some kind of engagement on the type of stuff you share. But beyond that, and I think entertainment value is actually going to increase, or I should say entertainment is going to increase in value moving forward, given that, and AI is like, I feel like it's got a long way to go. It doesn't really create innovative content, as it were. You have to give it stuff before it gives you anything worthwhile. However, I think just because of the instant gratification nature of AI generated content, stuff like blog posts and PDFs are unfortunately going to be viewed as less value and potentially AI generated. And people feel like, I think the assumption being that people feel like they can tell if something has been created by hand, by a real person, if it's audio or video. I don't think that's always going to be the case. Now, as somebody who's trained to spot mistakes of AI personally, I can very easily spot when something is AI created. In fact, I frequently laugh, but I see ads repeatedly come up on YouTube, and ads generally don't run continuously unless they're making money. So, it seems like AI generated ads, even if bad, and perhaps because they're bad, do get engagement. Nevertheless, content creation and repurposing is not going anywhere for the time being. It still matters, and you still have to have some kind of plan. And today, we're going to be looking at some possible ways for you to make it more efficient, because we can't realistically create a multi-platform presence without making it a little bit easier on ourselves. And of course, that is the first topic of today's presentation, is creating content efficiently. But if you don't have a big budget, and I'm making some assumptions here, but I think a lot of people coming into this group don't necessarily, they might, I know there's a few people for sure that are pretty savvy with technology, pretty savvy with content creation, but I think just based on the kinds of things that I've been seeing so far, many of you don't know what you're doing, don't know that you should be doing things, don't really have any kind of plan or strategy that has been documented and set up and executed against. So I think this will be informative whether you're a beginner or not. At least I think so. But nevertheless, we'll get into some of the things that will allow you to make sure that you are efficient with this process. Because if you're not, it sure takes up a lot of time. It sure takes up a lot of resources. And I used to do some very extensive content distributing myself. So I can tell you from personal experience that this is a difficult game if you don't have the right things in place. But again, go back to the previous episode as well, because we talked about tools and apps that will make it much easier for you to be more efficient with content creation. So there are different ways of approaching this method, and you can find these documented. I think I stumbled upon some of these via entrepreneurs like Gary Vaynerchuk, or possibly, I can't think of his name right now, but Entrepreneur on Fire, eofire.com. You probably heard of, or you may have heard of, things like the content waterfall or the content pyramid, or possibly even sawdusting. Chances are you haven't heard about sawdusting unless you're in very, very specific kind of communities. But that is, it all sort of refers to the same thing. It's not exactly the same thing, but it generally begins with what's the big piece of content you're creating, and then trickles down into this turns into this turns into this, and this turns into this. So these were huge revelations a few years ago, but things that we can kind of easily take for granted now. We'll get into some of the methods, and I'll just give you some examples because I think that's going to communicate easiest. The first example is you start a live stream like we have here at Spark Infinity. And during the show, you film different segments that are to become the shorter pieces of content for your various channels. And I think live streams being what they are, people tend to be a lot more tolerant of pauses, changes, if you have to adjust your clothing, if you have to step out and go to the bathroom and come back. People tend to be a little bit more tolerant of that kind of thing, especially if your content is good and people are enjoying it. So even if you need to change, quote unquote, change your set, I'm on set in my own office or creative space right now. I don't know that I would change a whole lot about it besides maybe a few technical details, but I have lights, right? And I've got a light in front of me now too. You can see it when I hold my hand up like that. And I've got a pretty decent camera. So I'm thinking about upgrading my mic, and I'm thinking about upgrading my camera. But beyond that, I've kind of got my set the way I want it. And if I really need to change the color of the lights, it can be done with one button. So that's kind of the point at which I've gotten things to now. It wasn't always like this, but that is the point at which I've now reached. And it was the plan all along. We had a question about sawdusting. Savannah, great question, by the way. So sawdusting is really turning bigger pieces of content into smaller pieces of content. And I have more examples coming up here that will demonstrate it. But just to explain it very quickly, let's say, for example, that you wrote a long form blog post and it incorporates things like quotes and statistics. Well, the blog post itself is something you could publish to your blog, and then you could publish it to Medium, and then you could share it to your newsletter. But you could also take all those little pieces, those quotes, those stats, anything else you like deep research that you put in there, and then turn those into Instagram quote cards. Or you could turn them into tweets. So that would be sawdusting, taking a larger piece of content and splitting it down into smaller pieces, which is more or less what we're talking about here. Example 2. Here's another way of thinking about it or looking at it. You could record a podcast episode. Then once the podcast episode's ready, you get it transcribed. You turn the transcript into an article. And that process, like, I'm not exactly talking about the step-by-step. I'm not getting into all the details of all the nuance of all the steps. Turning a transcript into articles can be a bigger deal than I'm making it here, but the idea is there. And it would be easy for AI to do it, right? So then you publish the article to your blog, your newsletter, and to Medium. That's the second example there. So you're starting with a podcast episode, and then you're breaking it down into some smaller pieces. Example 3, you write and publish a long-form newsletter. By the way, this could be a book too. You break it down into individual articles. You schedule each article to be published at a different time on your blog. It could be a month of posts, could be 2 months of posts, could be 3 months of posts, depending on how much content you have. You create blog summaries. Well, again, the easiest way to do that was to feed your blog post to AI and have it create summaries for you. And you share those summaries with your email subscribers. So you use those summaries to, and you would, if you were using AI, you would tell it it's your intention. Let's use these summaries to draw people into the article so they click the link and actually read it, right? So that's how you would do that. And then you take quotables from your articles and adapt them to different networks, Facebook, Instagram. Again, we talked about quote cards. X or Twitter is the perfect place for short form content. So those are a few different approaches. These are not the only approaches, but this is generally when people talk about content waterfalls, content pyramids, or sawdusting. This is generally what people are talking about. So you can see that the emphasis is on I have a long form show, or I have a long form video, or I have a book or a newsletter that I'm now breaking down into smaller pieces, more shareable pieces that go into different places depending on the networks or depending on the specific channels that I've chosen. And it's not just a matter of choice, as it were, like it's also about customer research or researching your target audience and making sure that you're showing up where they show up. But sometimes people just create things to insist on showing up where they like to show up as well, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just more of from a strategic point of view, those are some of the things that you would do. So those are some of the examples of how you would create content more efficiently. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about, or I'm going to show you, I'm going to use Spark Infinity as a case study. I drew this out by hand last night, and to be fair, if I had more time to kind of sit down and think about this, the diagram may be a little different, but I think this is a good starting point. Now, if you're having trouble reading this, of course, my handwriting being what it is, the top circle is live stream, splits off into video and audio, and then funnels down into transcript, summary, blog, and email. So the idea being, again, it's a little bit hard to demonstrate, or it's a little bit hard to diagram. I would have put a lot more thought into this if I really wanted to convey it. I think right now, Spark Infinity, like, we're not doing this perfectly, okay? But the idea is the live stream is the biggest piece of content that we're creating every week, and sometimes more frequently than that, depending on who's being interviewed or what other things we might have going on. So we're starting with live streams as a larger pieces of content, which is then breaking down into basically videos that are fully edited. So I can take this live stream, I can take out my ums and ahs and my breathing or whatever else is distracting. I can remove content that didn't add up or didn't make sense, and then turn it into a properly edited video. And by that point, it's pretty much ready to be a podcast audio as well. I'm the kind of person that tends to spend a little bit more time and maybe even too much time cleaning up the audio. I don't like a lot of breaks. I don't like a lot of ums. I don't like a lot of breathing. And I don't like a lot of other annoying things people sometimes do with their mouths. So I don't know. This is off topic, but I recently watched a couple of podcasts, and it's just clear that while the people interviewing are at least somewhat experienced, it's not like they're complete newbies. They haven't actually stopped to think about how they're communicating and how it's coming across to a listening audience. So one guy was just like, not like every once in a while. He's like, No. After every single sentence, it was like, Like, you know, so me as a host, having interviewed so many people, I may occasionally, every once in a while, maybe once or twice in an episode, go, or But you'll notice how I varied up what I was doing. So I don't just say right. I don't just say absolutely. I don't just say got it. I don't just say I love it. I mix it up. I mean, this is kind of the way my writer brain works anyway. I'm thinking of synonyms all the time. Like, my brain works like a thesaurus. But constantly going, it's really tiring to the ear. It's really tiring, exhausting to the ear. So these are some things to paying attention to in your content. But like I said, a little bit off topic to what we're talking about. Another interview, I think a lady was just the whole time she's going, yep, every sentence or after every, and then she would go silent because she's not properly anticipating the end of the sentence of what her guest was communicating. So she's like, yeah, and it's like silence. Then she asks her next question. So it's just clear. It's like, if you're going to be like, yeah, or you better be listening. But I think the better way to listen is every once in a while, chime in with a, or yeah, or but not constantly. It's exhausting to the ear. Okay, let's get back to this. So I also want to point out that with the Spark Infinity method, it's not something we're doing perfectly. We actually have a pretty substantial archive of stuff that has yet to be edited, yet to be turned into properly modified or edited videos and audios of podcast episodes, which of course have yet to be turned into transcripts or summaries or blog posts or emails. But we're working on it. We got a lot of stuff. We've got a large archive of content to work with. But the idea is that the live streams can turn into edited videos and podcast episodes, and this allows us to create multi-platform presence. But given that we're talking about multi-platform presence, we're not just talking about the specific types of content. We're also talking about where these pieces of content can live, right? So this is the part that people probably don't recognize or think about. A live stream, if you're using StreamYard, you can stream to at least 3 networks. Like maybe it's 1 network at the lowest tier plan. On the plan that I'm on, you can live stream to at least 3 networks. Now, I happen to have this going to 2 YouTube channels and our Facebook group, but you could configure this any way you wanted to. And at the higher tier plan with StreamYard, you can multi-stream to 8 destinations, okay? So when you look at the top, it's not just a live stream. This could be going out to 3 to 8 different social media platforms or locations. How about videos? What's a good place for videos to live? Honestly, most social networks nowadays, but you can put your videos can go on YouTube clearly, but Facebook also happens to be a great place for them. And those videos can turn into clips and then be distributed to TikTok and Instagram and X and so forth. Audio, podcast episodes. Here's another one people don't really think about or don't necessarily know. You can have your brand new podcast episodes every time you publish them distributed to a large array of networks and like streaming sites and many other places that people don't even think about. So for example, I've got the Creativity Excitement Emotion podcast. I actually haven't updated this since August, so things happen, but it's available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Geo7, Podchaser, Podcast Index, TuneIn, Deezer, YouTube Music, and probably some other places that I'm not even currently aware of. Are you starting to get the picture, right? Each one of these circles can represent multiple destinations. Just depends on how you set this up. But this is one of the reasons I think podcasts are so popular. So this is one of those things. I see a comment in the chat, and Savannah says she's working on her voice. Totally get that. And it does take some practice, absolutely. And I'm not propping myself up as being the perfect model example of all this. I have worked at it, though, and I have worked at it pretty hard. So, that's just, that's something to think about. So these are some of the things that we're doing at Spark Infinity to create a multi-platform presence. Again, there's some things missing from the diagram, but I think it communicates now that I've shared with you what each of those actually represents, what each of those circles actually represents. So another thing that's not really here is, we talked about how a blog post can be turned into an email. The email is really to forward people back to the blog post where the audio and the video lives. But another thing that's not there that I do is I turn the summary into a YouTube title and description as well. So that's another thing that I can automate using AI. And AI it's a great, and I'll talk more about this later, I guess, but it's a great tool. It's just not something you don't want to hand over your brain to AI. That's not a great idea. And I think for a lot of reasons, that's the biggest threat of AI. It's not the fact that it's stealing jobs, although I guess it kind of is. There's going to be different jobs. There's going to be new jobs. There's going to be more coming down the line. That's not the biggest threat of AI. The biggest threat of AI is that people stop thinking and they don't use their ability. They don't use their brain. And that's going to be the issue. Susanna wanted to come on and say hi. So, hey, Susanna, what's happening?
Hello. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. And it's just weird because it actually is coming through through the computer speakers rather than my microphone. So I just wanted to drop in and just say hi.
Cool.
I'm only able to be here for like 5 minutes or so.
Gotcha. What's going on in your world that's keeping you busy?
Well, I'm actually working with building AI agents for my projects, and
Mhm.
actually doing some like Teams, also working with that. So like I have like so many projects that I have to finish up, and one of the things is like I'm just really excited for creating these AI agents to come alive and help me with all the stuff, and also with other people too, right? So yeah. So like as you were talking about AI in this Spark Infinity method, it's just
Yeah.
really interesting how like how we're using AI in our lives now, where before we didn't have it. Like I remember like going into Yahoo or Google, typing in my question, but now it's like ChatGPT, right? So even though if it doesn't give like the best answers or anything, at least it understands what I'm saying, rather than me asking other people some questions and they don't understand anything I'm talking about. So it just gives me a little bit better of a way to work through life in a way that's like, even though if it doesn't have the best answers or so, like at least it agrees with me.
Well,
What
definitely.
they say, like when they're always looking for appreciation, or for looking for, go talk to ChatGPT because it'll always give you the thumbs up, right? So
Everything. Yeah. Hey, ChatGPT, I want to commit suicide. Is that a good idea? Yes. Sounds
no.
like a marvelous adventure. That is what ChatGPT would say to most of those kinds of questions. So,
Wasn't that one of the biggest on the news just recently,
oh,
about a month
probably.
ago
I
or
mean,
so?
I don't believe almost anything in the news. They just make this stuff up to make it sound real enough. I'm not saying people aren't stupid enough to do that, but like, generally speaking, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was in the news.
Yeah, exactly. So and that's it's no wonder it's actually set up. My microphone is my headset and my
Hmm.
speaker is my speaker. So I'm going to switch it right now. So it should be much better. Can
Sounds
you hear
like you
me
got a
now?
bad, yeah, I can still hear you. It sounds like you got a bad feedback loop going there, and hopefully it's sorted now.
Really? Does
No,
it still
not
bad?
on my end, not on my end, but just based on how you described it, I'm like, that sounds like a bad feedback loop.
Oh, okay. Okay, got it. Okay, is this somebody's drawing, by the way?
It's my diagram, yeah.
Oh, it's your diagram. Oh, nice. You have nice writing, by the way. Some people have chicken scratch.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's what people tell me. I feel like mine is chicken scratch too, to a degree, but they
But
seem to like my
no, that
writing.
it looks to be like, legible, because like people with the chicken scratch looks like one of the doctors just kind of like scribbled it up and you can't understand anything, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's at least legible. I suppose, it wouldn't be would be worth bringing in my talents in this way too. It'd be nice to do this on a whiteboard, or what's one of those boards that lights up when you draw on it? Maybe one of those would be cool too.
Was it like a light bright?
No, they got this new technology where it just senses. I guess it's like almost like digital ink, except in like a whiteboard form. You
Uh,
draw on it using your light pen thingy, and it shows up.
oh, I think I have one of those. They're little tiny boards or something like that, right?
Well,
Or
there's
big
big ones.
boards.
There's big ones
Oh,
available.
oh,
But
okay.
if you've got a little one, like that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, from the dollar store, right? So yeah, and then you
Yeah.
just press it and it actually disappears the whole lighting background. I'm trying to, like, if you can see me on the on the side, I'm just trying to dig through my pencil kit, right? So to find it. Pencil
Yeah.
box sort of thing, right? So
You're trying to
yeah.
find your stuff. Only recently did I sort of become aware of how, because I moved and I had very little stuff because I was traveling Western Canada for 2 years, and that wasn't really the plan. It's just the way it ended up. The plan was to travel the world, and after COVID, it was just kind of a big mess, and my 2 years ended up becoming a big mess. But
Oh,
only recently have I realized I have so little for art supplies. I feel like I got nothing. I got a few pens, and those aren't even meant for art. So I'm like, I'm missing pencils, I'm missing Copic markers. It's a lot of stuff that I would maybe not use all the time, but now that I got my newsletter going, I'm creating drawings every month.
Oh,
So
nice. Maybe I can share some of mine because maybe I'm willing to like sell them or something like that. I could share, or maybe we could have some like drawing times, like mural. I don't know, having
uh,
a collaboration together. I would love that. Dave.
a
With
drawing
regarding
live
to like,
stream.
yeah, a drawing live stream, or like even with the charcoal and pencils and everything, all that stuff, right? So it'd be cool to have.
Definitely. We should take this everywhere. Hire a video crew and then they just start filming our lives and that becomes the content and the
Yeah,
marketing
exactly.
strategy.
Well, I actually, to be honest, this morning I booked or no, I actually hosted a peace event. It was a peace roundtable or roundtable for peace. So we had like 5 people in the room, and it was all on Zoom and everything like that. And we had some like 4 questions, timed 4 minutes each. And everybody was sharing, what does peace look like in your life, or like what is peace? And I didn't know that everybody had a different type of like a definition of peace. And then when it came to like, okay, how do you want to manifest or put peace into your life or peace into the neighborhood? What would that look like? And then I actually shared with them about like, my I am possibility events, which I've mentioned a number of times on this podcast, right?
Hmm.
And yeah, so I brought that up and I said, like for everybody to stand in possibility as an artist, that's bringing a peace everywhere. And the reason when I was bringing that up is because it's like, it's a collaboration of like people bringing pieces together, standing in and standing for like their possibility and other people's possibility and creating peace all over the planet, right? So, yeah. Um totally like, the like the same realm as what we were creating, Dave. We could actually have it like go to an island and start drawing for
Hmm.
peace or start drawing together. What would that look like? You know? Yeah.
Yeah, that would be wild. It could be pretty cool too. I mean, I'm about to blow your mind maybe, but do you know that everyone has a different definition of everything? Like
Really?
not, oh yeah, even love. Nobody agrees on what love is completely. Nobody,
Wow.
everyone's got a
Wow.
different definition of everything.
Oh
That's
my
love.
God.
That's the
I
word.
thought that like, in school they would say, okay, what is love? And they would test you on the exact meaning of love, what they test you in test books and stuff, right? Isn't that the
Yeah.
whole true meaning of like, school? They actually teach you about what certain things mean, and then they test you on the memorization of that word or the memorization of that meaning. I thought that was the whole reason why they would actually do school, so that everybody could think alike.
I guess I'm about to blow your mind again, but the whole point of school is to bake your uniqueness, what makes you special, out of you completely. Make you a
What?
conformist, make you exactly like everyone else. Somebody who's subservient, somebody who will obey rules, somebody who will obey laws, somebody
Oh,
who's
interesting.
predictable in their actions and
Oh my goodness.
and
So what
docile.
are you trying to tell the whole audience, Dave, you shouldn't go to school? Skip school. Is that what you're trying to say?
Oh, maybe. I mean, that would be revolutionary. But so, like, again, people make excuses. They say stuff like, oh, I'm lazy because they heard that once. So then they leave school and they're quote unquote lazy. So then they don't do anything. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So,
yeah, I definitely see how you mean. But anyways, thank you for allowing me to step in. I gotta go.
sure thing, Susanna. Good to see
Yeah,
you. Our
good to see
viewers
you too.
appreciate you too. Check out Savannah's comments later.
Yes, definitely. And then also like I just wanted to let you know I will be here next week. So we'll see you then.
Right on. Have a good one.
Okay. Yes, you too. Thanks. Okay, bye.
Peace. Okay, so getting back to this topic of AI and handling this kind of thing, we're using it as a tool to create efficiencies, not necessarily as another brain or handing over our brain to AI. That's the worst case scenario. So I've shared before that I love Claude.ai, CLAUDE. A lot of people will turn that into CLOD. And I guess they're not aware of Claude just yet, but it's getting to be pretty known. It's getting to be pretty mainstream now because there's a lot of people using it. And I think for writing style tasks, for generating texts and that kind of thing, it's much, much better than ChatGPT. So I have that handle summaries. I can feed it a transcript and it can create a summary for me. And it does make some mistakes, but I expect that from every chatbot. So it's pretty minimal and easy to fix most of the time. Nowadays, however, there are many playground style AI tools that let you access a vast array of models, not just ChatGPT and its many incarnations, not just Claude and its many incarnations, but also things like Grok and Meta AI and Gemini. There are AI tools out there that let you access all of those for a pretty low price, things like Abacus.ai. So use what works for you. Doesn't have to be Claude. You don't have to mimic or copy what I'm doing. And I'm experimenting too. I'm always checking out new stuff. I'm always up for growing and changing. Some stuff I'm absolutely opting to do manually for reasons. No, I mean, I care about building my character. I care about my consistency. I care about solving my own problems and my personal growth. And the way to do that is to not hand over my brain to some kind of artificial intelligence. That's really the last thing. I'd like to talk a little bit about indiecareerformula.com. I've been sharing a lot about it in the group. I probably should be making more videos, but you know, things are what they are right now. I'm sure more will be coming. So as I'm sure you've seen, or hopefully you've seen, I'm still prioritizing Spark Infinity very much. But besides that, the main thing I've been plugging away at is Indie Career Formula. This is the membership I've been dreaming of creating for a long time for creatives and creators. And week by week, I'm getting closer to my vision. In fact, it's happening much faster than I would have even originally dreamed about, which is amazing. Indie Career Formula is a place where creatives and creators can go to get the 5 C's, which is content, courses, community, coaching, and collaboration. Again, content, courses, community, coaching, and collaboration. I've mainly been talking about the monthly print newsletter because that's been my focus. It's kind of what's top of mind for me. But the membership also includes a copy of one of my books, which I'll send to you in the mail, a forum, exclusive audios, like a membership forum where other people talk and connect, exclusive member audios, which I was recording weekly for quite a while. So there's a lot of stuff. And 4 of my courses, 4, which is insane. Now, you would probably expect this to cost hundreds, thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of dollars, but I've made it very, very accessible. You can try it out for 30 days for just $19.95. That's $19.95, not $1,995. $19.95. And after that, it's $97 per month. That's it. That's all I'm expecting. And you get all those things. And you get a newsletter in the mail every single month. This is like a 20-page plus newsletter with deep, rich content, much of which I've written, but I also have contributors and will have more contributors in the future, which is something that I'm excited about. Now, keep in mind, the print materials we're sending you alone cost more than $19.95. So you can see that I'm taking all the risk just so you can get a taste of what's available for 30 days for $19.95. In this AI-dominated world, I'm focusing more on creation, connection, and collaboration, not less, more. And I use AI as a tool. I just don't let it do my thinking for me. And this fact is reflected in the membership, as well as the way in which I approach it, as a means for personal growth and for building character. When I put together the newsletter, I manually put together the newsletter because that's what I want to do and that's what I believe in. Where can you find all this? It's at indiecareerformula.com. INDIE careerformula.com. And if you have any other questions, I'm sure the website will answer them for you. And formula does not, in this case, I mean, it can certainly refer to an equation, but really what I'm pointing to more is formula as in fuel. The fuel you need to fuel your indie career, right? You need to get motivated. You need to get inspired. You need to have content and people around you that keep you going when you don't feel like it. And that's what the indie career formula is. And by the way, would you like to be featured in our Facebook group of over 2,100 members? Spark Infinity began as a humble place for creatives, by creatives, for creators, by creators, and it still is. And the thing we're interested in most is not our presentations, which we're happy to offer, but your story. We're more than happy to create presentations and share insights with you as we've done today, but the thing that brings us the greatest joy is spotlighting you, giving you an opportunity to share your story. Whether it's an interview, a casual conversation, a roundtable, or even a show and tell, we're happy to accommodate whatever formats suit you best. So if you're ready to go live with us, drop a me in the chat or in the comments, and we look forward to talking with you. Also, we've noticed that in the Facebook group, we still have a lot of people who don't really seem familiar or kind of just don't really understand what it is we're up to. And look, it's not your fault. We've done our best to offer pin posts. We've done our best to give you all the resources and tips we can, but we try, like I am doing today, every opportunity that we get to remind you and to tell you how things work in this group, because it's really, really important to us. So I still see people posting their books or affiliate links or other products or recommendations. I will delete mercilessly, really, I will. I don't want to see any of that stuff until you've at least been on our show once. Don't post those links. I'm going to delete them. So please come on our show, join us. Because what better way is there to showcase your work and promote your stuff than to be featured on our show for 30 to 60 minutes? And it could be shorter and it could be longer. We're being flexible here. We're being accommodating as we can. So what better way to showcase what it is you're up to and the greatness of who you are than to go live with us? Or we can figure out another way of doing this. Maybe it could be a pre-recorded interview or a video. There's so many different ways we could approach this, but bottom line, that's how we prefer to showcase you, so that you can be properly seen by the people in the group, so that we can build relationships, so that we can collaborate. I've been giving you guys all the ideas in the world of how to do this, how to assert yourself into, I like the word insert. I heard someone say assert. I don't think that's right. How to insert yourself into the community and be a part of it. I've given you all the ideas. I'm done. I don't want to give you any more ideas. You should be coming to me with ideas now. You should be coming to me with joint ventures. You should be talking to me about how you'd like to share this content, or how you'd like to co-host, or how you'd like to take over the show and interview people. That's what I want to hear. So all happy, and it's all well and good that you're here to come and watch, and many of you are here to just watch, and we really appreciate you. And I'm not saying that that's not a problem. I'm not saying that. But I think many of you, it's time for you to step up and be a part of the community and make a difference. We've got 2,100 plus members. We can keep growing, but we need your help to do it. That's the only way it's going to happen. So drop a me in the chat if you're ready to go live with us, and I will be in touch. That's what I've got for you today. We got some comments in the chat to interact with. I'm going to have to go through those. I'll check really quick to see if there's anything else. Really love what Savannah's posted here. You guys need to get on this train. Okay, yeah, exactly. Because I actually hired David to be my personal YouTube manager, and I couldn't be more happy. I personally think that David is one of Bump's best kept secrets. People underestimate his value and what he has done, and when people start seeing it, he's going to blow up. So you want to get in this group and in his training now, exactly, before the doors get wide open and you have to wait in line. That's one thing about me that I'm really good at, is I can see trends and I can see greatness in people. Plus, I did that when I got into Bump. I did that when I got with Lori, with Amos, and now with David. So each person, when you see that they have to offer, you want to get in. Exactly. But I call the foundings. That way you get the most TLC as well as you get the best price. Yeah, you're going to get more personal attention if you join early. Absolutely. So that's just a little heads up for anyone sitting on the fence. Awesome, Savannah. Really great. You did it. You did a better job of selling this than I did. So I appreciate your comments. What do you think is the best AI for graphics? Yeah, I like Midjourney. I like Ideogram. Ideogram is IDEOGRAM.ai. And ChatGPT actually does a pretty decent job of graphics now. Also check out Meta AI, actually, Meta.ai. Those are all pretty solid as far as I can tell. So if you're not terribly happy with Midjourney or you just need alternatives, I would say try those out. Cool. Let's see. Is there anything else? There's some pretty rapid fire comments here. Nothing that I can see right now. So that's where I'm going to wrap up for today. Spark Infinity, this has been fantastic. Looking forward to seeing more of your comments and more of your questions. Always happy to answer them. Jump in. The time is now. Have yourself a fantastic, whatever it is, morning, afternoon, evening. Bye for now.